Sound check, sound check, sound check. Okay, sounds good. Alrighty. Okay. Hey, Shalom, beloved. Shalom, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shah, Bashim Kakadash, Barakatam, Shalom. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. Shalom, Barakatam Yahweh, Barakatam Yahweh Shah, Barakatam Yahweh, Barakatam Yahweh Shah. Call Halimah Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kakadash. All praises be to the Most High, Yahweh, in the name of His Son and our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, to the 144,000. Double honor and respect to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Coming back at you with another lesson. Shall they not all rise up and bite thee? So I want to go into a short case study tonight. The Francis Bacon Rebellion. Francis Bacon Rebellion, we can learn a lot from that because many of these situations or the predicaments and scenarios play into the conditions that we're living in today. You have the rich, wealthy, banked elite landowners that are benefiting off our services. We're working for free, basically. We don't own anything. Even you had Charles Schwab say, you will own nothing and be happy. The World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum spokesperson. He stepped down, by the way. Came under a lot of heat. But nevertheless, the baby caps were the wealthy landowners back then and owned the major land masses today and resources. Gold, oil, BP oil, petroleum, the diamond district, the diamond industry. So they've grown of great concern in these last days because the poor is speaking up and out against them. They're being identified. So in the past, they've been able to operate under the cloak of secrecy, darkness. But because of the light of the glorious gospel, the light of the glorious gospel, the spotlight is shining on them now. So they can no longer hide themselves. So now they're using all these different divide and conquer techniques and strategies. There's one situation where they had a Somali girl threatening Elon Musk. What can some poor Somali girl do to Elon Musk? So these are all psychological operations. But they're using that trying to say we have foreigners coming over here, taking our job, benefiting off our fraud, waste, and abuse, sucking the economy dry, and threatening us. So they're trying to use that to demonize anybody the color of a paper bag or darker. These are all divide and conquer divisive strategies and techniques. Age-old divisive strategies haven't changed. Divide and conquer. Demonize the majority, the mass, along racial lines, along religious differences, along economic differences, along the haves and the have-nots, while providing a cloak and cover over the wicked oligarchies, the international banking elite, the political elite, the political establishment. So they're hiding themselves behind the media and publicizing or trying to put the spotlight on the poor and the powerless, saying these are the problems to our society. These migrants, these immigrants coming over, taking our jobs, coming over, causing an inflation and a rise in cost of goods and services. It's the poor. So when you control the media, which the wicked global elite do, then they can use that media as a weapon. They sharpen their tongue like a sword. Did not King David say that? So King David was speaking prophetically into the future. Let's get it. Brother, the hopeful elect, 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. See? So they're using various lines of differences to try to pit one against the other. You have to do that when you are less than 1% of the population. A serpent uses its wits. It uses the terrain. It hides beneath the rocks. Do not the scriptures say, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, that holdest the height of the hill? So a serpent uses the terrain to its advantage. You have racial demographics. You have economic demographics. So they're hiding behind the different lines of hierarchies of society, the haves and the have-nots, and pitting one against the other, while they're hiding behind the backdrop, behind the stage, behind the curtain, like that movie Wizard of Oz. But they're creating false flag events. They're creating psychological operations with psyops. So they're the puppet masters behind the scene, creating chaos. The wicked international banking elite order out of chaos. We fight one another while they hide behind the stage, the curtain, while the spotlight is on the poor. So these are the problem children bringing chaos over here. Crime. Most of the crime are by so-called white nationalists. FBI database, you can pull that up. Open source public records. So so-called white nationalists are creating about 80% of the crimes. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. So these niggas don't go to sleep unless they create some sort of a false flag event, weaponized media propaganda, demonizing those that have no power. How is it you don't own any military, you don't own any banks, you don't print money, but you're labeled public enemy number one? Your face plastered on CNN. Get the hell out of here. Only an idiot would believe that. People with no power are at the center of disorder, chaos, wars. What poor man, Pedro, with a backpack on his back and a red bandana, is dropping bombs on Nigeria, Somalia, invading Venezuela with a goddamn backpack on and a damn Camelback to try to sip some water that he got left over. You know? It makes no sense. But when you own the media, you're demonizing the have-nots while you're hiding behind your controlled opposition and your media propaganda war machine. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So a major power device or device of Satan is his media. Is it not written, the accuser of our brethren is cast down? He can accuse the brethren on the world stage through CNN, NBC, Fox News, ABC. The people that have nothing, own nothing, are public enemy number one, while you hide the power brokers. You see, the landowners. Let's go into Francis Bacon Rebellion. And there's some significant takeaways that we can draw from the Francis Bacon Rebellion. They had to create terms like white to separate the poor whites from the so-called African Americans, which are Israelites. Many of those poor whites are Israelites, but didn't know it. A byword and a proverb. Poor white trash. A byword and a proverb. So I went to and asked some questions here on Chat GPT. When and where was the Francis Bacon Rebellion? Where did it take place? What were the underlying root causes? What were the key takeaways that we can glean from? What were the major lessons learned? Here's a breakdown. It took place in 1676, 5 years before they created the term white to hide behind, where they would begin to separate the haves from the have-nots to save their own ass, because the elites that own the major land masses, they were getting ready to come under attack by the majority. The majority rules, so to speak, through force. The plowman is going to overtake the plowman is going to overtake the reaper. Took place in 1676 in colonial Virginia, mainly around the Virginia frontier and Jamestown. Poor farmers wanted protection from Native American attacks, but Governor William Berkeley refused to authorize a large-scale military action. Power was concentrated mainly among wealthy planters and elite. Small farmers had little voice in government, see? So these are baby caps. You know what I mean by the baby caps, okay? We got to talk in code. So they were being threatened. The status quo was being threatened by the poor, the farmers, the laborers. So we see that repeat today. And they know you cannot escape Bible prophecy, or the plowman is going to overtake the reapers, the wealthy elite, the landowners. See, political inequality. Power was concentrated mainly among wealthy planters and elite. Small farmers had little voice in government. Economic hardships, falling tobacco prices, heavy taxes, and debt. And heavy debt hurt the poor settlers the most. So this is that thick clay where they're going to become a victim of their own success. So when you go into Habakkuk 2, and let's find it, Habakkuk 2, Habakkuk chapter 2, let's go to verse 6. Habakkuk 2, verse 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth my wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So this projects into the future. Well, it also applied during Francis Bacon time, 1676. Why? Because they were stealing the so-called Native American land masses and overtaxing the poor whites, so-called, and enslaving the so-called African Americans. So the so-called African Americans, which were Israelites, were bonding with a lot of their own brothers, the so-called poor whites. Many of them are Israelites. Don't forget 1 Samuel 22, where you have the poor, the downtrodden, the distressed, gathered unto King David. So this can fast forward and repeat itself prophetically in the future modern time. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, Ibatgat, thick clay, debt. See? Extreme indebtedness. So he's going to become a victim of his own success. Heavy tax burdens, levying more tariffs, making the people work more for less. So these people are going to rise up against the establishment, so to speak. Let's go back to the case study. See, economic hardships. Remember, I asked what were some of the major underlying causes of the Francis Bacon Rebellion. Economic hardships, falling tobacco prices, heavy taxes, and debt hurt poor settlers the most. Frontier settlers wanted more land, often at the expense of the so-called Native Americans, which are Israelites. So the so-called Native Americans, they really bear the brunt of the persecution because their land was being threatened from poor white farmers, settlers, and being usurped by the wealthy elite, the baby caps. Land hunger. Frontier settlers wanted more land, often at the expense of the so-called Native Americans. Here's the key point. Key takeaways. The rebellion exposed deep class divisions in the colonial society. See? So what they're doing nowadays is using the media to pit these differences one against another. The wealth gaps, religious differences, economic disparities. So that they're hiding behind the scenes, being the major cause of all this chaos, but they're hiding behind the victim status. You see, immigrants are coming over here causing confusion. The poor are using up our resources. No, the poor is helping you get richer by working in your companies, your factories, your businesses, McDonald's and McDonnell Douglas. You see, Nike and all the corporate giants. So the poor are victims. Key takeaways. The rebellion exposed deep class divisions in colonial society. It showed that colonial governments could be challenged by ordinary people. You see? So just like the poor and the distressed and the downtrodden and the marginalized were gathered under King David's time. So everything repeats itself. So now you have the everyday citizen threatening the status quo, threatening the wealthy power brokers, the wealthy elite. See, key takeaways. It demonstrated colonial governments could be challenged by ordinary settlers. So now they got to come up with a divisive strategy to divide and conquer. So what they're going to do is give away land to the so-called poor farmers and poor settlers and label them white in about 5 years, between 1676 and 1681. Now you're one of us. You see, we're going to give you large tracts of land because they're trying to preserve, let's get that their houses shall continue forever. Psalms 49 and 11. So they use the old divide and conquer strategy, an age-old war technique. They did that in Africa too. Shall these all not take up a proverb against thee? Shall they not all rise up and bite thee? So these same nations that they pooped on and pissed on are going to rise up against the power brokers, the political, economic, and military establishment. That's the bottom line. Let's get that. Brother Bayan, Yashawala, Shankram, Balak. Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah, Bashim, Kalkadash. Okay, let's get this first. Hey, Shankram, Balak, and Malakiam. Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah, Bashim, Kalkadash. Brother GMS must endure 144. Let's get that one first. It says, James 5 and 4. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. So the prayer, the prayer of the humble and the meek and the lowly, the poor, the Israelites, elect, that are crying out to the Lord, which means they must know his name and have faith and fear him, are crying out to the Lord because of this oppression, working more for less, being stripped of more rights, more unrighteous decrees, more lawlessness. Notice more securities are being stripped away. Why? So that we can rely and beg for more and bigger government. Create the problem, bring forth the solution. You got crime, we got to raise taxes, and by the way, we need more police officers roaming your neighborhoods. ICE, federal agents, undercover agents, crime stoppers, all bullshit. They create the chaos and disorder, let out hardened criminals that they cultivated to be more violent and more extreme in prison, that they developed in middle school and high school, the prison pipeline system, the school to prison pipeline system, all by design, funding single motherhood, welfare, alimony, child support, Section 8 housing, you goddamn devils. But now we need to raise taxes to fix the problem. You created the chaos, you red beast. James 5 and 4. Behold, the hirer of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies. So armies are being prepared against this system. The so-called UFOs, the chariots of the Lord. He's going to bring the justice and judgment. Hey, the souls of the just cry out. Goes back to justice. They want judgment. A part of that judgment is salvation to the faithful, the humble, the meek, the lowly, and the enslavement of our enemies, and the death of those that have committed crimes worthy of death. And what's left of them is going to go into hardcore slavery. So the peace giver or the peacemaker or the just is going to execute justice Yahushua. Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. See? Just like during Francis Bacon time. The landowners owned these lands, and they would name these lands after their own names. Even in Texas, unto this day, you have a town called Edom. 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 They have towns like, what's another one? I know Edom is one of them. I think I even saw another name of a town. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, the scriptures hold true and are accurate. Let's go back to Francis Bacon time. So what we see is a repeat of what happened during the time of 1676 in colonial America, where the power brokers, the wealthy elite, their power was being threatened by the majority poor. So they had to come up with a way to divide and conquer and have us fighting amongst ourselves. But you have Israelites that are so-called poor white. Yeah, Edom, a town in Texas. Yeah. Many of these are Israelites that were fighting against Israelites. See? Let's go here. It said, I'm not going to say African Americans. How in the hell can we be named after two continents? That's chaos. So it says, I asked the question, did so-called African Americans and so-called poor white Europeans and so-called Native Americans unite? So really, this is did Israelites, Southern Kingdom, and Northern Kingdom unite? Many of you so-called poor whites are Israelites that were subject underneath the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Just like today, they don't know who they are. But if your spirit aligns with this Bible, you're more than likely an Israelite. Let's read that real quick. Francis Bacon Rebellion involved a significant coalition of poor white indentured servants and enslaved so-called African Americans that fought together against the Virginia colonial elite, uniting over shared economic grievances and anger at the colonial government establishment. But the rebellion's failure led to the ruling class creating strict racial laws, what we know today as black codes, to divide them, establishing a permanent racial slavery and solidifying racial hierarchy that benefited the wealthy elite. The baby caps, Amalek, benefited. So they safeguarded and preserved their power and economic establishment, their power base. See? And they got wealthier too, because they divvied out land to these small farmers, the poor farmers, and began to tax them and get tribute from them. And eventually, over time, they would start to tax even the slaves going into the 1800s. So they were getting money both ways. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Even unto this day, the baby caps are benefiting by being the corporate leaders, the corporate owners. And in February 1871, America became a corporation owned by the international banking elite, the baby caps, and more specifically, the Rothschilds, that changed their name to the Rockefellers. Same niggas, different names. Same niggas. See? So they make this place a business, a corporate enterprise. See? That's why you have a president, just like a company president. Corporate interests, corporate giants. Hey, King David rose up against a giant. The house of David is up against a giant. After the Bacon's Rebellion, Virginia's lawmakers began to make legal distinctions between so-called white and so-called black inhabitants. That's right. That's why in 1681, they would change them from being German, French, Scottish, Italian, British, Scottish, to Irish, to white. And many of them are Israelites. But they took on this white identity and were fighting against their own brethren of the tribes, Northern and Southern Kingdoms, the so-called Native American the so-called Native American Indians, Northern Kingdom, and the so-called African Americans, Southern Kingdom. Let's keep going. So let's go back. My voice is drying out. We got to get this. See, right here. Did they unite the so-called African Americans, so-called poor whites, and the so-called Native Americans? And it said yes to a degree, or a limited degree. The enslaved so-called African Americans and the indentured European servants worked together during the Bacon's Rebellion, 1676. They shared common grievances, harsh labor conditions, poverty, lack of land, and anger toward Virginia's wealthy colonial elite. See, just like today, the corporate giants are uniting together underneath a digital technocratic autocracy, which is really a technocratic, it's a technocracy. It's led by the wealthy oligarchs, the corporate giants, the banking elite. But it's going to only be controlled by the wealthy. The poor is not going to have a voice. That's why they want you to take that digital device to be married or merge or married unto their system. They need compliance. So yes, they joined together. Some enslaved so-called Africans fought alongside white rebels, or so-called white. Remember, they're mixing and matching. If somebody can post that in Isaiah, please, 25. I think it's 7. That the Lord is removing that veil of deception. Hey, this doctrine is the most dangerous threat to the global elite on earth. This doctrine. That's why they don't want to arrest Israelites and publicize what they're teaching, show the videos, because the real niggas are going to be exposed that teach nothing but lies. Use racial false labeling. Like you're white, he's black, she's red, or whatever. He's yellow. You got Israelites among Asians, among so-called whites, so-called blacks. But they're using some Somali girl on TV, threatening the white political establishment, so-called, threatening Elon Musk. What can a poor Somali girl do against the wealthy banking elite? So they're using that as a precursor to attack, persecute, and demonize the poor. See? Yeah, let's read that. Isaiah 25:7. And he will destroy in this mountain. Hey, mountains are, you got the G7 meetings, the G7 summit meeting. Summit is a mountain that denotes a government. You got the G7 and G20 summit meetings. It's not talking about some man standing on top of Mount Everest with a bullhorn, bugged out. It's talking about the current political, economic, religious, and military establishment, the beast system under Edom. Edomites. They're not white. They're not white. They made that bullshit up. They're not white. Isaiah 25:7, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. So the Israelites elect are being sifted out of all nations, while at the same time, all nations are being identified. Moab, Ammon, Amalek, that man of sin, Edom, Esau, collectively as a nation. The Most High judges nations. This is beautiful. Simultaneously, while he's sifting out his elect from all these nations, he's identifying the enemies of Israel. Pursuant to Psalms 83, they have said, "Come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel shall be no more in remembrance." The tabernacles of Edom. You see, Ishmael, Amalek, all those devils. Beautiful. So King David is prophetically projecting into the future. Let's get 1 Samuel 22. With the downtrodden, the marginalized, the distressed. Isaiah 16:4. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee, Moab. See, those niggas, they're back. So all these nations that enslaved Israel, the Israelites were hiding among them. The hidden ones. So now it's globally. But it starts in America. Peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Moab 16:4. Damn, I'm bugged out. Isaiah 16:4. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end. Hey, that's Amalek. Okay, now we know the Most High is going to judge Edom collectively, holistically as a nation, but he that leadeth in the captivity, it starts with Amalek, the first of the nations. They own the slave ships, even named them after their own selves, okay, and their companies and their names. But collectively, all these nations are going to be judged. Collectively. The Most High judges nations. He's not a respecter of persons. Wow, that just hit me. Okay, the baby caps, they led this whole thing. So they're going to get it. The wealthy banking elite, they're going into slavery. Hardcore bondage. The worst punishment you can give to a trillionaire is slavery, or they lose everything. Isaiah 16:4. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee, Moab, the so-called Chinese today, Far East Asia or the Orient. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end. The spoiler ceaseth. The oppressors are consumed out of the land. See? So that starts with the baby caps. The international banking elite. The extortioners, the spoilers. And when you go into that word, I was looking at the beloved elder Karak Zakbar out of Baltimore. He broke down that word, ish. It breaks down into like an extortioner. You can look it up. That ish word breaks down into extortioner. You see, they led us into captivity. Own the manufacturing companies. Own the banks. As it is this day, own the banks. Printed the money. They also own the insurance companies. Okay? Insuring the slaves. So you can throw all your slaves overboard and get money for it. And say you lost your cargo. Or you can throw a few away. Not all of them. So you can get a little extra money on the side. And throw some of your cargo, they call the slaves cargo, and get some insurance payouts. All types of fraud was going on our blood, sweat, and tears, and on the backs of our oppression. That's wicked as hell. Shall you not be visited for these things, caveman? Shall you not be visited for these things? The G7 summit is an annual meeting of leaders from the 7 of the world's most advanced industrialized economies: Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. See? So this destroying mountain that is at the forefront of all these nations, that is the great horde. You see, they have a cohort of nations in bed with her. That's why judgment is going to totally annihilate the West, the Western Hemisphere, or North America. But these other nations, they're going to get judged, yes, but the entire world is not going to be consumed in fire. You're going to have pockets of the major population centers of these major cities that are going to be on fire. And the residue of the heathen are going to go into slavery. They're going to be subjects underneath the house of David, as in the old days under the thrones of David. Let's get this. 1 Samuel 22. 1 Samuel 22. Where's that at? Trying to find it. 1 Samuel 22. Yeah. 1 through 2. I'm in 2 Samuel. Salakia. Let's go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel. Let's do it this way. 1 Samuel 22. Let's get that. David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. So these are the marginalized, the distressed, the downtrodden. Okay? So the Lord is raising up this spirit of rebellion now against this beast system. The plowman is going to overtake the reaper. David therefore departed thence and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, and every one that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men. See? So these are the downtrodden, the poor, the Israelites, so-called Native Americans, so-called Hispanic, so-called poor whites, so-called poor immigrants from these other nations that look like the other nations, so-called poor immigrants, illegal aliens, and illegal migrants. Many of them are Israelites. So we can see a repeat of a historical case study. What has been will be again, because the same spirits come back in their lot in a different eon or age or period of time. I lost my damn train of thought. Can somebody post the definition of Adullam in verse 1? 1 Samuel 22 and 1. Adullam. Oh yeah, he was made a captain. Yeah, let's read that again. I'm just curious what that means. If he's hiding himself, why you got all these bug outs playing the piano or guitar? Or in a damn banjo with a damn floppy sombrero on. Talking about I'm King David. A lot of you Israelites must be out of your goddamn mind. And the Lord is going to raise up the prophets in their due time. Okay? Not bugged out and singing some damn country roads take me home, you know? These people are out of their damn mind. Anyway, let's read this again. And every one that was in distress, and every one that was in debt, And every one that was discontented gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them, and there were with him about 400 men. Let's go to Isaiah 55. What has been will be again, and there is no new thing under the sun. So some bug out singing Country Roads Take Me Home is off. He's way off. He's bugged out of his damn mind. He really just need to be quiet. Be quiet with your bullshit. Let's go to Isaiah 53, Salakia, Isaiah 55, verse 3. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you. Even the sure mercies of David only pertains to the Israelites. King David put garrisons in these heathens' territorial districts. Okay? Verse 4. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. So that's why we read 1 Samuel 22. He was made a captain. Isaiah 55 and 4 again. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. Somebody give me the definition of witness, please, in the Hebrew. Curious what's that's going to tell us. Because it sounds like a signet or a sign. Definition of witness, please, Bobukasha. I'm going to close this out in about 5 to 10 minutes, Lord willing. Brother Dawada, 1 Samuel 22 and 1, Adalam. In the English, Strong's H. In the Hebrew, 5725. Adalam. Justice of the people. Oh, wow. Justice of the people. That's heavy. A sight of the cave. That's hidden. That's hidden. So you out playing a damn guitar, breakdancing, trying to claim who you are. You must be out of your damn mind. Unbelievable. A lot of bug outs, reprobates, and apostates are rampant everywhere, raised by Eve on government benefits. Justice is hidden. That's, ooh-wee! Adalam, justice is hidden. You can't make this up. Goes back to the just ones, elect, which ultimately is Yahweh Shai, because he's going to execute justice and judgment on the earth. So the anointed ones start with Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, which means the anointed one, followed by the elect. You can't make this up. Woo-wee! If you don't get excited about this word, you're spiritually castrated, raised by a single mother on government assistance with an attitude. You can't tell me, now ain't no damn man gonna tell me nothing like that. Without the job, yes, master. Yes, master. You know, and showing all her teeth. All three of them. Showing all three of her teeth at the job. Being submissive. This is a damn shame. The Lord got a special judgment for you yes bosses and you Eves out there. Nobody can tell you nothing but master. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So you and your three teeth are getting ready to get this work. Judgment. Okay, I want to go into this a little further here. Smiling for master and all submissive and yes boss and yes bossing. A lot of our men are like that too. I got to go ahead and call it what it is. No nuts. No nuts. All right. It's come to serving the Lord. They got disability. I'm on disability. Without the job, they limping on one leg trying to serve this nigga on crutches. Trying to run and make him some coffee and stuff. The Lord can see you and your bullshit. My neck and my back. My neck, my back. So, Adalam, justice of the people. See? So words have meaning and quite often are nomen omens. All of a sudden I'm on disability when it comes to serving the Lord. That's unbelievable. So witnesses from Isaiah 55. Witness, Strong's G, right here. Witness, Strong's H, not G. I'm bugged out, I told you. H for Hebrew. Witness, Strong's H, 6030. Anah. Let me read it in the Hebrew, because that looks kind of strange. Doing something strange for a little bit of change. Eve be doing something strange for a little bit of change, but then want to talk trash to us. The Lord sees you. It's okay. Judgments are near. All right? This is absolutely ridiculous. Let's go ahead and find that here. I've given him for Isaiah 54:5. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and commander to the people. So we go into that word witness. Yep. Prince. Testimony. Specifically a recorder, a prince. And that word in the Hebrew, shar. Wow, a abstract testimony. Wow, look at this. I didn't know this was in here. Evidence. See, that's a sign. So the judge is always like, you need to produce evidence. That's a sign that the Lord's word is true, faithful and true. Let's look up evidence, testimony and evidence. Look it up. Evidence, available body. I never looked this up. I'm not going to bullshit you. The available body of facts, indicating whether a belief or a proposition is true or valid. So the Lord's word is faithful and true. A testimony or a witness. Wow. So nothing holds true without evidence. Prophecies coming to pass. Somebody is just bugged out of their damn mind with dry lips and ashy elbows and ashy knees. Totally lost. But that's okay though. We're going to keep going anyway. Alrighty, let's read that again then. Isaiah 55, verse 4. Behold, I have given him for a witness to the people, a leader and commander to the people. Behold, thou shalt call a nation that thou knowest not, and nations that knew not thee shall run unto thee, because of the Lord thy God, and for the Holy One of Israel, for he hath glorified thee. So Israelites that look like every nation is coming together by the hearing, teaching, and preaching of the word. That's a sign, by the way, that summer is nigh, or the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So not believing that, we're going to be lackadaisical, casual, barely scratching the surface. But at the job, limping on one leg. You ever seen that scooter? They got one knee on this little mini bike. And then the other leg, they're just looking like Fred Flintstones to try to use the other leg to get around. Okay, that's Jake at the office, at the plantation, for boss. Well, when it comes to serving the Lord, I'm on disability in Section 8. Okay, I'm drawing Social Security this month. We can't make this shit up, man. I'm on Social Security. Unbelievable. And you can have, with technology, you can speak the words and it'll type. And it'll record too. That's your video right there. 10 minutes talking about you on disability. The Lord is going to kill a lot of ash and trash. A lot of ash and trash. going to be fuel to the fire. I'm just telling you. Nobody's ever showing you love. This is ridiculous. Your brother said, Jake, be broke, blind, mute, and deaf when it comes to serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. Without the plantation, turning backflips and cheetah flips and breakdancing, putting on a show with that little scooter with one leg on the scooter and the other leg like Fred Flintstone to get around this bitch. The Lord sees you. Anyway, the brother said between 1765 and 1811, approximately 4,000 so-called Mexicans, including soldiers, recruits, and convicts, were forcibly transported to the Philippines by Spanish authorities. You got Israelites scattered over in Far East Asia that we mentioned earlier. You see? Yeah, this is good. Jeremiah 12 and 9, Brother Dawadah. Jeremiah 12 and 9, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. See? So that's like variegated. When you go into that word speckled, it breaks down into variegated. We come in all varieties, shapes, colors, fashion, styles. We're dressing like the heathen. We're talking like the heathen, speaking their language. Our dietary customs we're taking on as the heathen. Our worships, our rituals, customs, courtesies, style of dress. See, happened in the old days. Paul was talking to Israelites that had shaved heads, long hair like the Greeks, committing, sleeping with one another's wives, dyeing their hair and growing it long. Some of them would shave it. They were wearing Greek fashion clothing. See? And being called heathen. But they're Israelites by blood and by inheritance. James 1 and 1. Hey, shalom, beloved brother, GMS humble servant Aharon. James 1 and 1. James, a servant of God and the Lord Yahushua. James 1 and 1. I just butchered it. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yahushua. To the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. So these scriptures are fluid, meaning they capture past, present, and future. They're fluid. Hey, fountains of living water. The Spirit make me say that. So they apply then and apply now. You got Israelites looking like every nation under heaven, being gathered by the hearing, teaching, and preaching of the word. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptation. That's coming again. By the temptation that's going to come upon all the world. The mark of the beast. To be plugged in or digitally linked in to this technocratic oligarchy. The beast system. Corporate giants coming together to try to obtain total authority, control, and dominance in this beast system. Political, economic, religious, military. You see? My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Hey, thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. So we get nourishment by the word, the bread of life, the fountains of living water, being anointed with understanding, where we're not dried up for thirst for knowledge, for wisdom. Okay, dry lips, ashy elbows, and ashy knees, with blisters and chapped lips, bugged out of your damn mind, waiting on the devil to come up with a digital chipping system so you can get government benefits and handouts and become a permanent slave connected to Elon Musk's computer, brain computer, and bogged out of your damn mind, controlled by electromagnetic impulses from Elon Musk's technological advances. A permanent slave. A lot of Israelites are looking forward to that. So you can be told, turn left here, make your right here in 5 meters, turn right here. They love that. So they want that in their brain rather than having to purchase a GPS. That's why the Lord's going to clean house, ethnic cleansing. Okay, let's go back here. Close out another key factor and we'll end it. What was the big takeaway or the big so what of that 1 Samuel 22 that we read? The gathering represents the poor and oppressed uniting under a rejected king. God raising up leaders from the margins. God raising up leaders from the margins. Those that are being marginalized, downtrodden, depressed, rejected. Back to the bottom line and what makes this Francis Bacon rebellion a very significant case study to examine as it relates to the truth and modern times. The poor, so-called whites, some of the so-called Native Americans, but not many, because their lands were being taken. And you had mainly the so-called poor whites and the so-called poor African Americans joining together to fight against the wealthy landowners. So they needed to create a strategy of divide and conquer. So what were the impacts? The rebellion pushed the elites. This is the key takeaway right here. The rebellion pushed the wealthy elites to divide by race, leading to long-lasting racial slavery and inequality in America, as it is this day. So they created terms like white, black, red, and yellow. You see, that's pretty much it. So what we're seeing is the Lord is removing those veils of confusion. The convoluted description of nations or nationality. Nations go back to the 18 fathers that created nations from the Bible. And the nation, Israel, is a nation of nations, of kings and priests, going back to the 12 patriarchal fathers, showing you the mother does not determine the seed. The fathers do. It says here that the baby caps made slavery inherited through the mother. The baby caps define so-called African Americans as property, which were Israelites, so they became property to be taxed ultimately over time, but not during Francis Bacon time. Made slavery inherited through the mother. So the baby caps operate through the mother, which is bogged out. Can somebody do a quick search when they begin to tax slave? How many slaves you had? If somebody can do that real quick and post it. Because I want to get my gear straight. Because I haven't researched that specifically. All right, we'll go ahead and get rid of it, end it there. So the bottom line is confusion is being dispelled or squashed because the doctrine is being preached. This is the most threatening, dangerous doctrine to the global elites, the global oligarchs, the corporate giants, the corporate leaders. Thank you. So I didn't mislead the flock. Didn't happen during Francis Bacon time of 1676, even going into 1681 when they created the term white. Because prior to that year, you were called Irish, French, Italian, you see, British, whatever, Welsh. See, it says, Brother Dabada, slave owners were taxed on their slaves as personal property at the federal, state, and local levels in the United States, and at that time the colonial or continental states, with a 1798 federal tax. See that? But it was really difficult to control. Why? Because the slaves would just keep reproducing. You know, Israelites multiply. I mean, we don't die, we multiply. I mean, just like jackrabbits, humping and a pumping, and spewing out baby batter. See, so they couldn't keep track of how many exact slaves you had. So it got out of control. And leading up to the 1860-something Civil War, because the North wanted to tax the exact number of slaves you had and your land. The 1798 federal tax, 50 cents per slave back in 1798. Hey, that's a lot when you look at it in today's money. And continuing through various state property taxes, though often with low valuations, like the Virginia's $300 cap, until emancipation. My voice is fucked up. Emancipation did not free the slaves, but it just transferred ownership from the South to the North. That's what it did. That's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and end it there. Yeah, Israelite love a humping and a pumping and spewing out baby batter. King's batter. Hey, that's what I'm going to start calling it. King's batter. So right now, a lot of our Eves are boys got the goddamn mind. They're going to the caveman's batter, not knowing that this man is a base man. But the elect are waking up to avoid this serpent seed, the devil. And they're beginning to see the light. Only the elect. Let's go ahead and read that one. King's batter. Baby batter. That's all right. The seed of Jacob. GMS humble servant Aharon. Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. We humping and a pumping wherever we go. China, the Middle East so-called, Morocco, Algeria, it doesn't matter, Iraq, Iran, Vietnam, okay? Every damn where, spewing out baby batter. Rapid fire. But America is where we begin to multiply too. Just like ancient Egypt, it says that the children of Israel multiplied and grew, and it grieved Pharaoh. What happens if we go to war? He said the children of Israel are more and mightier than us. That's happened again today in America. That's why they instituted a census, which is against the Bible. You're not supposed to measure or count or number Israel, which really you can't. Because we produce babies. We don't even know we got a baby overseas some goddamn where. Or in another state. We don't even know. We just know we popped 50 women while we was out of town. Okay, so Israelites are every damn where. Anyway, but this is America right here. Hosea 1 and 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered, and it shall come to pass, that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. So this is that place right here in America. And it happened also overseas, but the primary focus of prophecy is the land of the North or America. That place. Hosea 1 and 11, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. See, one head. That's why we read about King David. 1 Samuel 22. That's going to be raised up. Hopefully this lesson in the latter days. So these are the days of prophecy, and we're in those days. These are the days of judgment too that's coming. And the Lord is executing judgment every day. But major judgments are on the way. They're not meaning to rhyme. Yeah, there's a movie out called, what is it called? Greenlander or Greenland? I need to see part 1. It's on Amazon. So I'm going to try to catch that movie. There's a part 2 that's in the theaters. If somebody can post the name of it, I'd appreciate it. Bob Kasha. Let's go ahead and end it there. So we always ask that you repost the videos because they're shadow banning all our lessons. Yeah, what is it called? I can't see. We'll go ahead and, Greenland. PG 2020. And there's a part 2 out that's in the theaters. I'm going to try to watch part 1 either tonight or tomorrow night. So it gets into prophecy. Okay? Hopefully this lesson has been edifying. See you on the next lesson, Lord willing. See you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwam Yasharala and the Bad Babal. We got next, Lord willing. Rock and Thumb. Shalom. Shalom. Shalom.